Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Louise Huber begins now.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. Tasmania's Commissioner for Children has launched an investigation into the state's out-of-home care system. Under a new model, some children are no longer being allocated a dedicated safety officer, with concerns they won't reach out for help.
Tasmania's child safety system back under the microscope. The Commissioner for Children and Young People acting on concerns over a new management model which replaces dedicated child safety officers with a team of workers and generic contact details.
We know from our work in the past, speaking to children, that sometimes a child safety officer can be the most important and stable person in their life.
In some cases, child safety workers have been reassigned away from long-standing relationships with the children they look after without consulting them.
That children have a right to have a say in the decisions that are being made about them.
Around 1,000 children and young people are in care in Tasmania, but it's not known how many of them have lost a dedicated caseworker.
I think in response to staffing pressure within the department, more and more children have been allocated to these teams.
The Greens are welcoming the investigation, taking aim at what they say is a chronically under-resourced sector.
We don't have enough qualified staff, there are too many children slipping through the cracks, and this review is long overdue.
The Commissioner putting out the call for submissions from foster carers, child safety workers and children themselves to get their view on the new policy.
And that, but we look forward to seeing what her findings are, and we'll work in consultation with the Children's Commissioner like we always do.
Submissions close on February 24. Annie Green, 7 Tasmania News.
And demand for property in regional Tasmania has fallen by more than a third, according to a new PropTrack report. High interest rates and the rising cost of living are being blamed for the drop. But it's not all bad news for sellers. Low supply in the regions means properties in some areas are still fetching a premium.
And we are seeing that regional Tasmania is one of those regions not only where home prices are holding up better, but also holding up better than, say, other parts of regional Australia.
Buyers in the state's southeast are still paying a premium, with more than 2/3 selling for above asking price. And Tasmanian cricket fans are about to have their first taste of the Big Bash for the season. And the Hobart Hurricanes take on the Perth Scorchers in Launceston tonight. We'll cross live now to Tom Johnson at UTAS Stadium. Good evening, Tom. That ground has come up a treat.
Louise, it is looking absolutely sensational here at UTAS. Perfect conditions for cricket. It's nice and warm. Summer's here at last. What will be a terrific clash between the Hurricanes and the red-hot Perth Scorchers. I spoke to the curator earlier today. He told me they've been working feverishly to make this ground as good as it can be, and it's certainly paid off. It's a carpet-like surface with a quick outfield which should yield plenty of runs. Of course, pitches have been in the spotlight this week after the Green Gabba test, but I'm told this one here in Launceston will offer plenty of opportunities for both batters and bowlers, and we know the fans will want that. High-scoring, entertaining cricket should be in store for those currently making their way in through the gates. While conditions are warm right now, it could get a little dewy later on tonight, which may help the team batting second. The Hurricanes have a poor record here in Launceston, just 1 win from 7 games, but that win came against the Scorchers back in 2018. So hopefully tonight, Louise, there'll be plenty to cheer about, and I'll have all the day's sport from here a little later on. So I'll speak to you then, Lou.
Tasmania's peak motoring body has issued a stern warning to drivers before they hit the road this festive season in a hope to end the year without another fatal crash. RACT's urging Tasmanians to ensure their vehicles are equipped for the long trips by undertaking a simple checklist.
Confronted with a grim road toll, avoiding trauma this Christmas and arriving to your destination safely is top priority for emergency services.
We've had a horrible year on the roads. I think everyone's aware of that. So we'll be out in force on our major highways, on our back streets, trying to enforce what we call the Fatal Five.
Before getting behind the wheel, the RACT's pleading with drivers to take a look under the bonnet.
Checking oil, checking coolant, making sure all fluid levels are correct. Then running around the vehicle and doing some basic checks on tyres, lights, making sure you haven't got any broken lenses.
With concerns, complacency could lead to tragic circumstances.
If you've got tyres that are a little bit low and you get a decent layer of water on the road, inducing aquaplaning, that will spear you off the road quite quickly.
The number of vehicles on the state's roads is set to increase over the next week, with an influx in tourists visiting the state and people returning to see loved ones.
We share the road, particularly this time of the year. We need to be patient, we need to be courteous.
Grace Evans, 7 Tasmania News.
Fire permits will be required in Tasmania from tomorrow to help prevent the chance of bushfires this season. Residents who are looking to light an open fire on their property must request permission, with the mandatory rule coming into effect from 2 a.m. The aim, helping ensure any burn is conducted as safely as possible.
We still encourage property owners to burn off. What we're looking for, though, is to do it in a way that means we won't have the burns escape and cause more widespread problems.
The permits are free and can be obtained through your local fire brigade. Thousands of people attending the Taste of Summer will be able to give to a good cause this year while enjoying all the event has to offer. Teaming up with Variety Tasmania, a donation can be made when purchasing tickets online, with people also given the chance to buy a bauble to hang on these special Christmas trees.
The whole idea for us is to try to raise enough funds to support Tasmanian children who pretty much turn out to school with no breakfast or no food.
We're going to challenge the taste goers to get involved and donate to Variety, and we want to raise enough to do 100,000 breakfasts for Tasmanian children.
The children's charity provides more than $200,000 in support to kids and families every year. Hundreds of northern Tasmanian graduates have donned their mortarboards and taken to the streets today. The annual Town and Gown Parade, a chance to celebrate their years of dedicated study.
Marching to the end of their degree. Seas of Silks taking over Launceston City.
I'm graduating in my Masters in Clinical Nursing and Teaching.
I'm graduating with a Bachelor of Architecture.
I've recently graduated with Masters of Information Technology and Systems.
The Town and Gown Parade, a chance for the students to celebrate.
It's part of the fun of the end of the process, and it means that they are demonstrating to the city they've graduated.
Looking back at what they've achieved.
It's been lots of hard work, really glad to get to the end of it and so excited to graduate.
For PhD graduate Ivan James, this day has been a long time coming.
I've been researching refugee settlement in Launceston. I've looked at it over the last 6 years, and I've found that of late the system is not helping refugees and it's not helping the city.
Some graduates moving immediately to their chosen career path.
I get a job in the Launceston General Hospital, the surgical ward.
But for others, this is just the beginning.
The future holds a Masters of Architecture, hoping to continue my studies.
270 students took to the city streets today for the annual Town and Gown Parade. But this year's finish point was different than the past, ending at the new university campus at Inveresk.
Today is a big day for our students.
Talia Jordan, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania Police is cracking down on repeat offenders in the lead up to Christmas. Operation Saturate has been relaunched and will see a dedicated task force take to Hobart streets to ensure anyone doing the wrong thing will be caught.
We have a very small group of people who offend, and they do a wide range of crimes. So Saturate's job is to identify them and then target them and hopefully put them before the courts.
Police are reminding the community to lock their cars and houses this festive season to prevent opportunistic thieves from stealing their valuables. A berry farm in northern Tasmania has thrown open its doors, opening a new accommodation facility for its pickers. It's hoped a higher standard of housing will attract returning seasonal workers.
Picking is, a skilled job, and we'd love for them to come back year after year. We see a big uptick in their productivity from year 1 to year 2, something like a 30% jump.
The lodge can cater for 80 residents, with plans to expand to around 500 beds in the next 3 years. An Australian animal absent from the state for more than half a decade has clawed its way back into Tasmania. Zoo welcoming a young koala, the only one in the state.
camouflaged in native eucalyptus rests a species foreign to our island. Richmond's Zudu Zoo welcoming Monty, the 2-year-old southern koala.
He's recently arrived to us from a wildlife park in Victoria, and he's been here about a little over a week. He's been settling in beautifully.
Received through a mainland breeding program, Monty is Tasmania's only koala.
There are decisions made as to which animals will go to which places to create the best breeding opportunities for the best genetic health of the population.
His enclosure undergoing a fresh lick of paint after being abandoned for several years.
We haven't had koalas here for about 5 or 6 years.
We know that species around Australia are threatened, so whatever we can do here in Tasmania to help our counterparts on the mainland protect our precious fauna is fantastic.
The adorable new resident is already attracting attention.
Anytime you get a new addition to the collection, I think people are very interested to come and see it, particularly our overseas guests that come in off the cruise ships.
Monty's arrival couldn't have come at a better time, with school holidays already starting for many Tasmanian students. Zudu now planning for the years ahead.
Hopefully we'll be getting him a friend soon, and as Brian was saying earlier, we'll get the little pitter-patter of koala feet.
Brianna Boylan, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania's riders have logged more than 750,000 kilometres on e-scooters since their trial introduction last year. Micro transport company Beam has released its list of the most popular routes in both Hobart and Launceston, with Hobart's waterfront to the CBD taking out top spot. A decision on whether to make e-scooters permanent is expected early next year. A Tasmanian Tats Lotto winner still doesn't know they are more than $730,000 richer. The mystery winner took home a Division 1 prize from Saturday's draw. The ticket was purchased from the Sorrel Lucky Agency.
Hello again from UTAS Stadium, where the Hobart Hurricanes are about to begin their first Tasmanian game of the season. The Hurricanes have named an unchanged lineup from Game 1, and they're facing the Perth Scorchers, who got off to a flying start when they beat the Sydney Sixers. Jai Richardson will be the danger man for them after taking 4 for 9 in his first outing. Conditions here are perfect for cricket, with only a gentle breeze running through the stadium at the moment. There's another big game on tonight, and that involves the Jack Jumpers. They're over in Adelaide, about to take on the 36ers, a side they beat in the City of Churches back in round 3. The big matchup of the night will be between Milton Doyle and Antonius Cleveland. Doyle, of course, being in terrific form of late. Tassie is coming off a loss to the Taipans. This is their second game in 3 days. And the Tasmanian Christmas Carnivals has locked in a marquee matchup for the Devonport and Burnie Miles. King Island's Stuart McSwain will take on Aussie Commonwealth Games gold medalist Ollie Hoare on home soil for the first time. A modern-day running rivalry will kick up its heels in Tasmania this carnival season. Stuart McSwain versus the now American-based Aussie Ollie Hoare.
They are Australia's 2 best ever 1500 metre and mile runners. They're both Olympic finalists, but they've never raced each other on Australian soil.
That will change when what's dubbed the Jewel of the Decade hits Devonport on December 29 and Burnie on New Year's Eve.
It took a long time. This has been the trickiest and most convoluted negotiation of a couple of athletes I've been involved with.
Hoare made his name in Birmingham, where he took out the 1500 metres gold. Carnival organisers expect a bump in crowds wanting to witness the pair going toe-to-toe.
For me, it's up there with Kathy Freeman versus Melinda Gainsford-Taylor here at the Domain in the 90s. Some might even think it's up there with John Landy versus Ron Clark back in the 60s. It's a massive matchup.
There seems to be no match for Carnival regular Georgia Baker of late. She clinched 2 national titles in the Omnium and Madison races in Melbourne over the weekend. Lauren Perry is bringing home a bronze and silver, while Josh Duffy won Madison bronze. While in Rosebery, Cody Steers made history, winning his 10th straight 400mm underhand championship. An early moment of magic of the Carnival season ahead. And Louise, the Hurricanes won the bat flip, and they've chosen to bat first, so I better hop out the way here. I'm going to to be a nuisance if I hang around, so I better hand it back to you.
Wonderful, thank you for that, Tom. You sure better. Hope the night goes well.
Good evening. Hobart reached 18 today, as did Burnie and Devonport. Launceston the warmest around the state with 24 degrees. Temperatures above average over parts of the north and west, but not so much elsewhere. Bushy Park 23, Strawn 21, Friendly Beaches and Flinders Island 20, King Island, Smithton and Low Head 19 degrees, St Helens and Lyoweeney 18. Areas of cloud over the state today, mainly over the southeast and off the coastlines there in the south and east of the state. Low cloud found its way to coastal regions of New South Wales and Queensland. Active cloud over central Australia containing a storm or two, and monsoonal cloud gathered over the tropical north. Tomorrow a high slowly passes to our south, troughs over the west and central regions of the country. The winds tending northeasterly over northern waters tomorrow, 15 to 25 knots, light winds over the inland lakes. For Hobart tomorrow, mostly cloudy and 19, 18 the high for Adventure Bay, Tarraleah partly cloudy, 21 the maximum. Launceston 23 again and partly cloudy, Devonport a top of 19 and 20 the high for Bridport. For Burnie, a cloudy day, 17 the top, 20 for Strawn. Marrawar, cloudy as well, 19 the maximum. And for St Helens, cloudy, 18. Same for Whitemark, a cloudy day for Swansea, 17 the top. UV and extreme 11 after a sunrise at 5:31. On Wednesday, northeasterly breezes keep the east coast temperatures down a bit on what should be a fine partly cloudy day. A shower is tipped to develop over the northeast and northwest on Thursday ahead of spreading further, and on Friday showers for most, along with a possible thunderstorm over the north and east. A sunny day tomorrow in Perth, a shower and 32 in Adelaide. Sunny and warm for Melbourne, partly cloudy in Sydney, 27 the top for Brisbane, and wet over the far north. And a bit of cloud about at the moment, but nothing to worry about. Hobart 14, Launceston 19 and Devonport 16 degrees. And Louise, I just don't believe there's a movement out there that want to get rid of the good old fat jolly Santa. You know, this complaint about everything crowd has gotten right out of hand. Who are they going to pick on next? Overweight weathermen?
They'd never do that, Murph. They'd be too scared. Thank you for that. And that's all your news for this Monday night. I'll be back later throughout the night with updates. Stay with us though. The Hobart Hurricanes will face the Perth Scorchers next in 7 Tasmania. But for now, thanks for joining us and good night.